niggas hating on the kid, that's fine. I'ma make a movie out these niggas one time. Don't you worry about the time it took. Just know that the bullets in the magazine enough to paint a comic book. Niggas all kinda shook. Round here, niggas bear enough arms and get compared to an octopus. Check out the pages in my comic book. Cannons get hand drawn. Ain't nothing sketchy when you fly the jokes. A burning flame in this comic book. Everything could change. I turn the page in this comic. Hey yo, my city riding. In a day of flower blossom when the sun fade. Every night it turn to Gotham, Batman and Robin. Not the heroes, but it happens when the op gets spotted. They whoop your ass and pat your pockets. Marvelous, everything real. Bitch, I never lied. Magneto lifting my arms to let the metal fly. All black Nina, call it black woman scorn. But it rained on you niggas, don't get caught up in the storm. Don't you worry about the time it took. Just know that the bullets in the magazine enough to paint a comic book. Niggas all kinda shook. Round here, niggas bear enough arms and get compared to an octopus. Check out the pages in my comic book. Cannons get hand drawn. Ain't nothing sketchy when you fly the jokes. A burning flame in this comic book. Everything that changed, I turn the page in this comic book. Peter Parker, so why do niggas think I hang with them? When every time they around, my spidey sense tingling. Bodies on ice, for trying to be dead cool. Bodies in the water, that's how you make a Deadpool. I bring carnage to these niggas, be an idiot. Dressed in all black, kinda looking like the symbiote. No matter if these niggas hating on me, I will never be a character erased from the story. Don't you worry about the time it took. Just know that the bullets in the magazine enough to paint a comic book. Niggas all kinda shook. Round here, niggas bear enough arms and get compared to an octopus. Check out the pages in my comic book. Cannons get hand drawn. Ain't nothing sketchy when you fly the jokes. A burning flame in this comic book. Everything that changed, I turn the page in this comic book.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use, for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips in the balance of the favor of fair use. Welcome to Blended Healing. It's been a couple of weeks since we last met to talk about Project 2025 and what to expect when the president-elect takes office in a couple of weeks. Please do comment and, share your thoughts, but keep it cute because myself and my subscribers, my moderators, has a quick delete game. So keep it cute, okay? All right. Let's just go back over some things when it comes to Project 2025. With American democracy already at a crisis point, extreme right-wing operatives have crafted an authoritarian playbook that would push it over the edge, destroying the nation's 250-year-old bedrock system of checks and balances to create an imperial presidency. Project 2025 Mandate for Leadership, as you know, is a 920-page roadmap for a future president to wield excessive power to implement dangerous policy agendas, ripping out democracy by its roots and replacing it with a system that most Americans would find unthinkable. For many decades, there have been efforts to advance radical proposals to weaken America's middle class, stripping them of fundamental freedoms and subverting the rule of law, most notably by capturing the United States Supreme Court. But the Project 2025 blueprint makes those prior efforts look small. Project 2025 unabashedly promotes the wholesale violation of norms and laws, consolidating enormous power in a president and trampling on Congress's constitutional role to take away Americans' long cherished freedoms and opportunities. Not only would this authoritarian playbook make it easier for a far-right executive branch to weaken the independence of public agencies, install political cronies throughout the government, punish people it disagrees with, and control what news the media can report. But it would also allow the government to eliminate abortion access, healthcare choices, overtime pay, educational opportunities, and other programs that benefit communities and families. Project 2025 being implemented, the United States would be unrecognizable, allegedly. Instead, it would resemble autocrats around the world, such as Hungary and Turkey, which in recent years have severely weakened their democracies and vested inordinate power and on authoritarian leaders who serve the interest of themselves and not the public. Once this occurs, it will be incredibly difficult to fix. Make no mistake, this could easily happen in the United States without a firm system of checks and balances. The Heritage Foundation, who penned Project 2025, which also declared in July of 2024 that a president excuse me, let me go back. I want to make sure I get this correct. The Heritage Foundation that created Project 2025 and its president declared in July of 2024 that they are in the process of the Second American Revolution, and suggests that the political violence may be necessary to effectuate their authoritarian blueprint if Americans resist. This report discusses the background and the draconian goals of Project 2025. It explains how the plan's extreme ideals could come to fruition, exploring 7 critical guardrails that Project 2025 would demolish, including weaponizing the United States Department of Justice against political opponents and everyday Americans, politicizing independent agencies and the executive branch departments and replacing tens of thousands of nonpartisan civil servants with loyalists to do the president's bidding. In each instance, the report provides concrete examples from the direct harms that would result from eliminating these crucial guardrails. Pause. I have been following a lot of this on the news, which I normally don't do. At least not mainstream. I don't listen to mainstream news because of its direction that it has went to. I listen to independent news sources that are not partisan, but gives both spectrums so I can have a rounded idea. There is some things in here in Project 2025 that seem to be normal. Like I said before, Project 2025 is not a new document. It is actually a document from 1980, like I said before, that was given to President Reagan. It has just since then been updated to add more things that will take down a nation, in my opinion. Another thing that I've been hearing is that people who have voted for Trump, president-elect, don't believe what he's saying in Project 2025. They believe that he's just speaking rhetoric and that he would not do the things that he says that he's going to do because they feel as though they have been exonerated for the most part. And they feel as though it's not going to happen to me. You know, the NIMBY, not in my backyard. But we'll see how it plays out. I was mostly intrigued with a farmer from North Dakota, I believe it's North Dakota, where the governor was chosen to lead a particular branch underneath the next administration, where massive deportation would take away migrant, I didn't say immigrant, I said migrant workers from out of the fields, from out of the barns, where they are predominantly working in industry, in agriculture, in farming, to say the least. In this fact, one of the farmers stated that his population of employees was split half and half, half migrant or illegal, and the other half Americans. He stated that he does not believe that the governor, I think her last name is Nome, Governor Nome, already knows the layout of the farms in, I don't know if it's North or South Dakota. I can't remember where Christine Gnomes is from. But anyway, stated that she already knows what it is. It's not like they're hiding the people. They're out there in the community spending American dollars on their necessities, so on and so forth. They just don't have legal status. And this farmer went on to say, there's no way that President-elect would take these migrant workers off farms because there will be no food, no milk, no nothing. The Americans would starve. So he does not believe that President-elect will take away the workers. He stated that if the workers were taken off the farm, they would have to shut down their farm in 2 days. I want that to resonate with you. 48 hours from a milk plant, a cow plant, what operates 24 hours a day. But I digress. Let's continue to support the president-elect. He's doing a fantastic job, right? Okay. Let's give you the background basics. Project 2025 is a plausible pathway for the far-right administration based on white, Christian, nationalist, pro-corporate, and anti-worker philosophy to degrade democracy and promote radical policy goals as it has long wanted to accomplish but has not yet been able to implement. The authoritarian roadmap of this shrinking political minority aims to tear down the system of checks and balances and reimagine an executive branch on steroids and free from any shackles, giving the president and the judges they put in place unfettered power to take over the country and control American lives. In the process, the plan redefines personal autonomy and freedom, conjuring up the worst of European nationalism from the 1930s. Project 2025 would hurt all Americans, but in abandoning the public interest, it would allow the most dangerous attacks to be aimed at young people, the poor, and other marginalized communities who have particular interest in creating a government that works for the people. Pause. And also in recent affairs, we all know that the border czar that has been appointed has received the land that President before Trump tried to acquire as eminent domain. But the farmer, an older gentleman, fought them and said, "You're not taking my land," because it was in Texas right on the border and they wanted to use his land. Since then, speeding up to today, a woman now owns that land and is now in partnership with the incoming administration to use that land as a deportation camp or center, whatever makes you feel that you can sleep at night. So when the migrants are gathered, which is millions, of migrants that are in this country are gathered, they are to go to that center where they are to remain for X amount of time before they're sent out back to their native countries. As you know, in this deportation process, it is not only affecting the Hispanic population, it's affecting all populations that migrated here that even may have visas that have expired. And I kind of understand that in a way. But what I don't understand is the rollback of American born children to people of illegal status. Their children are United States of America citizens. The border czar said that instead of ripping the families apart, they all can be deported together. Of course, they state that they will go after the criminals first that are currently incarcerated. I understand that. Then they will then do the blue states because they know that they are the resistance. And I believe it's 13 of those that they will be going in and taking illegals out and shipping them back. And I understand that most of y'all agree with that because the Americans on this side of the aisle, well, not the aisle, let me strike that. Americans believe that if they are a person that has been contributing to the economy of the United States and building infrastructure and doing their due diligence, but just not have taken the oath of citizenship, they should be allowed to remain here in the United States. But that's not the case. According to Project 2025 and the border czar who used to be in charge of ICE. You can look this all up yourself and see for yourself, but I digress. As the center of, they have, let me see, Project 2025. Where am I? Okay, yeah, I'm at the right place. Heritage Foundation is a far-right think tank that has influenced conservative administrations since the 1980s. Among other things, the expansive plan would eliminate fundamental personal freedoms while cutting the take-home pay of millions of Americans. I will say that again. Among other things, Project 2025 will be addressing the elimination of fundamental personal freedoms while cutting the take-home pay of millions of Americans. They will increase taxes on the middle class. They will allow corporations to stop paying workers overtime. They will implement a national abortion ban. They will restrict access to contraception. They will slash education funding and raise the retirement age for Social Security. And although these policies are unpopular, Project 2025 would make it even harder for the American people to have a say in their government or oppose policies they disagree with. The Project 2025 blueprint is one of 4 pillars of a larger plan overseen by the Heritage Foundation. The other 3 pillars include a personnel database of all loyalists to potentially replace tens of thousands of federal government civil servants, a private online educational tool to train them, and an unpublished 180-day playbook with transition plans for each federal agency. Pause. Thousands of civil servants will be released from, I'm sorry, let me get that number right. Tens of thousands of federal government civil servants will be released, replaced by loyalists who are not subject matter experts. And then they're going to get an online educational tool to train them in the job. And then they're going to have a unpublished, meaning that it's not for the public to see, 180-day 180-day playbook with the transition plans for each federal agency. You understand that the federal agencies are across the United States government, across all 3 branches. I just want you to understand that. Let's continue. The Heritage Foundation aims to include 20,000 people in the database. Those are loyalists. And it is already taking its recruitment efforts on the road across the United States. When acting together, the 4 pillars are designed to grease the wheels for a new far-right administration to quickly start accomplishing the president's radical agenda. The tentacles of the larger project are sweeping. It bills itself as a movement-wide effort guided by the conservative cause. That is unparalleled in the history of the conservative movement in its size and scope. Paul Dance, a former director of Project 2025, confirmed never before has the entire movement banded together to construct a comprehensive plan to deconstruct the out of touch administrative state. The Heritage Foundation, President Kevin Roberts, boasted that his apparatus is orders of magnitude bigger than anything similar done before. In fact, he called it the part of the Second American Revolution, which he ominously threatened will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be. So, for those people who didn't understand that, let me explain that deeper. Anybody, I don't care if you're left or right, who challenges this transition, it could be bloody. They're willing to go to those lengths. But I digress. Because we want, a lot of people voted, and this is what they wanted. And they're about to FAFO very soon. Let us continue. The coordinated effort to enshrine the United States authoritarianism is steered by more than 100 plugged in conservative organizations that make up the advisory board, and more than 400 people reportedly helped fashion the Project 2025 playbook. We already know this already. One key role is held by Russell Voigt, a self-described Christian nationalist who runs the Center for Renewing America, which reportedly is secretly drafting hundreds of executive orders, regulations, and memos that would lay the groundwork for rapid action for a future far-right president. You heard me, right? They're already writing executive orders. They are already writing regulations. They are already writing memos. Russell Voigt has been appointed to the incoming administration's cabinet. Another contributor who I'm sure we're all familiar with is Stephen Miller, who runs the America First Legal and has long espoused weakening the system of checks and balances, along with authoritarian policies, including rounding up and deporting millions of immigrants. Miller subsequently attempted to distance himself from Project 2025. Project 2025 co-authors also include far-right stalwarts such as Ben Carson, Ken Cuccinelli, and Peter Navarro, who recently served jail time for defying a lawful subpoena related to the aiding the attempt to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. Let's go back to Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is an unknown white nationalist. a supremacist. And that's all I'm going to say. But, you know, FAFO, we try to tell you. But let's continue. All the aforementioned people held prominent positions in the administration of President Donald Trump. The larger Project 2025 effort draws funding. Let's go. It draws funding from a secretive dark money network that includes organizations overseen by the far-right Koch brothers, as well as Leonard Leo, who engineered the far-right hijacking of the Supreme Court. These deep-pocketed funders have worked hand in hand for decades with extreme politicians and other allies to weaken the nation's systems of checks and balances in order to hold onto political power and implement a white, Christian, nationalist, corporatist agenda. Even as the nation is becoming more diverse and pluralistic, no doubt they have achieved some degree of success. In the 2 of the past 6 presidential elections, the United States elected a conservative president who did not win the most popular votes nationwide, but won enough votes in the counter majority electoral college. The far right has also recently captured the United States Supreme Court, making a mockery of the rule of law, equal justice, and protection of fundamental rights. Excuse me. The court's extremist justices now routinely substitute their partisan agendas for laws passed by elected members of Congress, or even the plain meaning of the Constitution, ignoring the court's long-standing precedents, adding new roadblocks for public agencies to keep Americans safe. Excuse me. And by doing the bidding of billionaires or special interests, taking them on lavish vacations. And just as Congress has become disempowered by the Supreme Court, it has also paralyzed by extremist lawmakers who are elected in unfairly gerrymandered districts and who abuse the anti-majority Senate filibuster rules, which empowers senators from the 21 least populous states representing only 11% of the country's population and only 7% of its Black population to block almost any people-powered legislation. Okay, plain English. All right. We know that Justice Clarence Thomas has received numerous gifts, documented, that is unethical and should have resigned as a lawmaker. I'm sorry, as a justice. Has not yet. But here's the part that just happened that you don't know about, or maybe you do. There were several justices in lower courts that decided that who were supposed to retire, but has decided not to retire because they don't want their seats to be given to people who do not deserve the seat, if you can read between the lines. When they gerrymander a district, that means what they do is they redraw your district lines to make it more favorable to them of who they want to elect. Say, for instance, Lauren Boebert in Colorado, I believe, she was up for reelection. And the district that she was in, she was going to be defeated. So what they did is that they moved her to another district so she can be reelected. And what she did is with that part of the party did is they ousted another senator from that district. You got it? Gerrymandering. And what they did is that they empower, by doing this, people in smaller states have more voting power. I should say the representatives have more power than those of larger states, like the state of California, that have gazillions of delegates, gazillion of people in office. And they made that comparable to a state like Vermont, which makes Vermont more powerful than California. You getting it? I don't know. That may not be true, but just so you can compare, it's not apples and apples. It's apples and oranges. But it gives the power to block voters or to have their votes count. If you don't believe me, go look it up. Let us continue. Project 2025 takes an absolutist view of presidential authority to wholly reshape the government in ways that most Americans would think impossible. The Project 2025 blueprint anchors itself in the unitary executive theory. This radical governing philosophy, which contrives the traditional separation of power, vests presidents with almost complete control over the federal bureaucracy, including congressionally designated independent agencies, or the DOJ and the FBI. This unitary executive theory is designed to sharply diminish Congress' imperative role to act as a check and balance on the executive branch, which with tools such as setting up independent agencies to make expert decisions and by limiting the president's ability to fire career civil servants for purely political purposes. The roadmap to autocracy presented in Project 2025 extends far beyond the unitary executive theory first promoted by President Ronald Reagan and later by Vice President Dick Cheney, largely designed to implement a deregulatory corporatist agenda. Instead, as discussed further below, which we'll be talking about, Project 2025 presents a maximalist version that does not nibble around the edges but aims to thoroughly demolish the traditional guardrails that allow Congress an equal say in how democracy functions or what policies are to be implemented. The conservative think tank American Enterprise Institute, Philip Walk, said that some of these visions start to just bleed into some kind of authoritarian fantasy where the president won the election, so he's in charge. So everyone has to do what he says. And that's just not the system in the government that we live underneath. If Congress is robbed of its role as a check and balance on the president's power, and the judicial branch is willing to bestow a president with almost unlimited authority, autocracy results. And presidents become strongman rulers, free to choose which laws to enforce, which long-standing norms to jettison, and to how to impose their will on every executive branch department and agency. And we're going to stop there. When we come back for part 8, we're going to talk about Project 2025 and how it will demolish political norms on which the United States relies. I want to thank you for stopping by Blended Healing on today to talk about this, because you really need to know what's going on or what to expect. So that way you don't have to get ready. You'll already be ready. Like I said before, us as a culture, we've been through this before. You know? I should say the older ones, the older us, been through this before. So we know how to maneuver and how to get around hardships. For those of you who, voted for the incoming president based upon the economy, which was already thriving in some cases, and y'all believe it wasn't because of the fact of inflation. Fact number 1, President-elect already stated that he did not know how he was going to decrease the price of gas, food, etc. He stated it. Fact number 2, he stated, I don't know where they got that from. I never said that. But y'all keep hope alive. FAFO, we try to tell you. Y'all done fucked around and found out. But I heard some conversations recently that people still truly believe that he is the better choice. You got 4 years because the oligarchy has been set and billionaires are running the United States. Oh, and by the way, when they said that they want to get rid of the bureaucrats in the nation's capital that are holding up things, guess who's considered a bureaucrat? You're never going to believe it. The shadow president, Elon Musk. But y'all knew that, right? Yeah. Okay, continue deflecting. It's all good. All right, just continue. We'll wait. We'll wait. We'll wait. As I'm over here making one pot meals so I can feed my family and they can get full, where we have to save our money in order to make wise choices. And as we sit back and just watch and wait, I hope to be proved wrong. But just looking at the cabinet choices, I don't think so. And with the guy who just paid for to be in charge of the Navy, that was classic for me. He paid the president-elect to be in charge of the Navy, a businessman that has no idea about the military. But anyway, y'all have a good one, okay? All right. Stay informed. Don't listen to these channels. Be an independent thinker. Look into it for yourself. And for those of you who don't realize that Obamacare is ADA, it's the same thing. So they're going to take away ADA and they're going to have a concept of a health plan deal. Okay? All right. All right. Oh, don't forget, they're taking food stamps too. All right. I got to go. There's so many things I got to do. I'll talk to y'all later. Be well, stay safe. Ashe, deep bow. And I shall see you all very, very soon.
No comparison to the so-called black or African American. You can drop the African, keep the American. When we say Aborigine, it make their world in. I'm going in the same dirt my ancestors buried in. I come from a god and a goddess, so what that make me? Not even Basquiat can trace me. Not even Van Gogh can paint me. The MC in me is the god of the sea. Equals the god in me. I'm focusing and let my mind be free. You too blind to see. The Jews I give is real. It's been real. These ain't shots, they missiles. All you gonna hear is the whistle. Lyrically, this the execution. My verses start revolutions. From my people seeking restitution. Since the beginning, fuck evolution. Or maybe my reality is all a dream. I put it together like I was sowing seeds. So it seems this is that audio dopamine. Go against the machine. We put you where nobody can hear you scream. And sing you to meet your Elohim. My nigga, this is savage mode. It's something that you hate to go. It started with a spark and I'ma let it explode. I was given the cheat codes that'll let me dump and reload. And go through them waves like a fucking torpedo. You dealt the cards of life. I just cut them diamonds with the ace of spades. Y'all scatter like roaches when they facing raid. Or vampires when they facing blade. I'm trying to get extra terrain like I'm getting played. You still stuck as a mental slave. You still stuck in that mental cage. While I'm making easy money, pimping hoes in style. This my coming to age. Crowd roar when I'm coming on stage. And when I'm done, they gon' be cheering my name. Great times, and nah, I ain't quit my day job. I spit bars. I really rap on my day off. That's real shit. Just give you some tools you can build with. Aim high even if you still miss. Just keep going. It's a climb. climb to the top, and I'ma keep flowing. Down Lake Shore, I'm Chicagoan.